It's an honor to be speaking to this audience at today's event. My name is Allon Mason, and I'm the founder and CEO of UserWay. Our vision is to create an accessible internet for everyone, and to change the world so that everyone can access digital content online regardless of their ability or disability. UserWay is the #1 web accessibility technology company in the market today, innovating across all aspects of digital accessibility and compliance. We help organizations ensure a rapid path towards full accessibility and compliance across all types of digital content, from websites to mobile apps to documents and PDFs, videos, and all other corporate assets you have online. UserWay was founded in 2016, but grew so rapidly that we went public with a successful IPO earlier this year, a major milestone for the company. So today I want to help you understand why you need to be accessible, why it's essential from a regulatory perspective, well, it's the law, and how easy it is for your organization to become compliant with the strictest regulations in less time than it'll take me to complete today's presentation. So who benefits from digital accessibility, and just how important is it? Well, the Centers for Disease Control in the US has established that 1 in 4 people in the US live with some form of disability. That's about 26% of the population. But most of us probably already know someone living with a disability. It may even be you. And if it's not you, it could be any one of us at any time, especially with an aging population. Disabilities aren't always the classic disabilities you may think of, such as being blind or being confined to a wheelchair. People can be mobility impaired, but there are also cognitive disabilities, learning disabilities, language acquisition challenges. And even being colorblind is a form of disability that may prevent you from using some online services the way they were intended. The spectrum of disabilities is quite wide, and the challenges of making your website accessible are pretty extensive. But just because the path forward may seem difficult, it doesn't mean we can ignore the problem completely. First of all, accessibility is the law. And by not ensuring your website is accessible, it means you're not complying with federal and international accessibility regulations. In just the US alone, there have been tens of thousands of accessibility-related lawsuits and many more demand letters received by both SMBs and more established enterprises. And this isn't happening because most organizations don't care. Digital accessibility just isn't that easy. The regulations and technical standards are quite complex, and they keep being updated all the time. It's a job that really is too big for most development teams by themselves, especially if they want to maintain an accessible and compliant site over time. And when you add in the time required to fix large websites at the code level, it quickly becomes overwhelming, time-consuming, and very expensive. And you're at risk even with what seems like small violations. Things like if your website has a button that is not accessible, or an image that does not have an alternative description, or navigation that isn't accessible with keyboard, or your site uses colors that don't meet the color contrast minimums. All of these issues can prevent people from accessing your content. And ever since Biden started his presidency, the amount of attention that has been drawn to accessibility and compliance has really skyrocketed. For example, during the COVID pandemic, when people were confined to their homes and were required to go online to complete their shopping, to purchase medications, to meet with their doctors, there has never been a time when it was more important for the web to be accessible. But when services were not, people with disabilities were left feeling like prisoners in their own homes. They were basically prevented from participating in the economy. So if your organization hasn't been hit with a lawsuit yet, you might actually know someone who already has. Many leading companies are already prioritizing accessibility for their teams and for management, and it's been percolating into every level of their organization. But let's consider what could happen if you choose to ignore it. If you have a violation on your website, essentially you could potentially pay $4,000 for each violation. And all these violations are barriers to people relying on screen readers and other assistive technologies, preventing them from consuming your content or services. Obviously, you don't want this kind of risk for your business. Now, where does UserWay come in? Let's take a look for a minute at Sarah Friedman, who relies on UserWay to access services online. She's a blind woman who's been living with blindness for the past 10 years.
When a site will not cooperate, I get really frustrated and I curse the computer and I start doing shift tab to go back and forward and press all kinds of buttons frantically. I just stop using those sites. I can't force it to work. At age 4, I lost sight in one eye and had greatly reduced sight in the good eye. But when I lost my vision completely about 10 years ago, I became a geek without even meaning to. I'm a translator and simultaneous interpreter, have been doing that for about 30 years. I need to use a computer. It's a must tool for my job.
Disable autoplay button. Reader settings button. Disable automatically play the document after opening. Automatically play the document after disable autoplay. Reader settings.
I'll buy things from you. You want to sell things from me. The easier you make it for me to hit the buy now and to enter my credit card details or get into PayPal or whatever, I'll buy more. I really appreciate the work that UserWay do in making the internet more accessible. When I go onto a web page that UserWay made accessible, I see that the headings, the links, the buttons, the images, the graphics are all in the right place. I have easy access to them. I can hear everything as I go down the page in the hierarchy, and I can get to where I'm going quickly and use the site the way I want to. Thank you, UserWay.
So you can take a full team of developers and train them in accessibility and teach them the hundreds of WCAG guidelines that they have to learn and implement in the code, and take that team and have them work for months or years and monitor every new page that your marketing team publishes up on your website, and go through the code and remediate it line by line, send it to your QA team, and then finally launch it to production and rinse and repeat. Or just install UserWay. And within 30 minutes of installing our solution, you can save more than 6 months of a full team of developers working to remediate at the code level. And UserWay is supported on many leading platforms such as Wix, WordPress, Shopify, and many more. So with just a single line of code that you put on your website, UserWay detects and fixes accessibility violations in real time. And the result is significantly increased accessibility and ADA compliance for your website. Let's take a brief look at a few sites that run UserWay today. These are just a few of UserWay's existing customers. Coca-Cola, which, as you see here, its widget has been customized to match the branding on the site. The Motley Fool, and Walmart, and many, many more. UserWay works with many leading brands: Disney, UNICEF, eBay, and of course many brands that you are probably already using on a day-to-day basis. UserWay is also honored to have been selected by the Tokyo Olympics to be the official accessibility partner for the Olympics, Paralympics, and Special Olympics websites. UserWay is also tightly integrated into many platforms, including WordPress, Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, and many more. We also have full integration into Google Tag Manager, which many of you are already using on your websites. So regardless if your site is custom built, or your site is built on one of the popular platforms, UserWay can be launched in minutes. So what are the advantages you get with UserWay? First of all, AI and machine learning algorithms get more accurate as they are fed more data. And since UserWay is run on more than 1 million websites, we have more data to process and to feed into our AI than any other solution on the market today. UserWay also fixes violations without involvement by your development team. Let your dev team build your products and let UserWay worry about your accessibility. Code fixes load on the client side so your source code remains untouched, unless of course you want it to remediate at the code level, in which case UserWay supports that as well. But we're not just about using automation alone. Our AI is market leading because of our advanced human-in-the-loop processes, strengthening our AI every day. So you can sign into your widget, see what was changed by UserWay's AI, review it, or have your content or product teams review and approve, and modify the changes made by our AI, all to ensure your accessibility meets your brand's strict guidelines. Here's what that process looks like. So here you can see we're signing into the widget. We click Remediations. We go to Remediations for Review. Let's select Image Alts. And we can see all of the image descriptions that were added to your site. UserWay also offers development tools for your dev teams. So if you are looking to remediate at the code level, your dev teams can use UserWay's scanning and monitoring to get specific recommendations for how to fix a specific accessibility violation, with concrete examples so your dev team won't need to learn the ins and outs of the WCAG. We'll inform your team exactly what needs to be changed, where it needs to be changed, and how they should change it. However, if you choose to rely on UserWay's AI-powered accessibility widget, you can see the number of violations it fixes, making your site significantly more accessible without involvement of any development. And we support more than 40 different languages. Aside from disabilities, an accessible experience also means your site should work for people who might not speak English. You want it so everyone can browse your site in any language of their choice. And with UserWay, your site's accessibility layer is both translated and localized to ensure an accessible experience in their preferred language, exposing your site and contents to more users than ever before. This means everyone gets the same accessible experience regardless of their preferred language. UserWay also has a built-in screen reader and more tools for your sites and users than any other solution on the market. The revolution of AI with accessibility has been game-changing too. You can reach ADA compliance and full accessibility in a very short period of time, rather than months or years. And with UserWay, you have an evergreen solution, so your website will always have the latest version of UserWay, the latest changes required by the WCAG, ensuring any changes in browser technologies are covered. Your website will always be kept up to date and will be at the forefront of accessibility, giving your users the best accessibility possible and your organization the best insurance against accessibility-related lawsuits. The organizations who are prioritizing accessibility are the ones making a real difference and setting the stage for the future of the internet. UserWay is your one-stop shop for digital accessibility, offering scanning, development tools, manual audits, PDF remediations, tools to author accessible PDFs from MS Office, from Microsoft Word, and professional and enterprise-focused services such as single sign-on or SSO, on-prem, and custom security features. Help make the internet accessible for everyone. Connect with UserWay today to ensure that you are doing the right thing, the smart thing, and the socially responsible thing for your stakeholders, for your management, and your users. Thank you.